Jerome Powell just said that it will be impossible to get a mortgage in high-risk states coming very, very soon.
Fed Chief Jerome Powell, he was testifying before the Senate Banking Committee today. Here's what he had to say.
Both banks and insurance companies are pulling out of areas, coastal areas and things like that, or areas where there are a lot of fires. If you fast forward 10 or 15 years, there are going to be regions of the country where you can't get a mortgage. There's no time like the present to start working on this. The longer we wait, the more painful it will be.
Now, he didn't specify which states, but I would almost promise you it's going to be California. That's definite, because you've seen State Farm, a lot of these insurance companies already pulling out of California, and you've seen what just happened in Los Angeles.
State Farm, California's largest provider of homeowners insurance, announcing in 2023 it would stop accepting new applications from California residents.
State Farm dropped around 1,600 policies in Pacific Palisades last July.
I believe it's also going to be Florida. You look at what's happened with Hurricane Milton and Helene and all the problems.
Emergency services in the United States have rescued thousands of people from flooded parts of Florida after Hurricane Milton crashed through the state yesterday.
Damage was done here in Martin County, and this was the scene in the city of Fort Myers. In all, there were more than 100 tornado warnings, a record for Florida in a single day.
It's going to get bad out there. And I think we're walking into a massive shift of wealth. In this video, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to show you what I'm doing with my own money, what investors are doing, and what I think this big trend is going to be over the next 2 to 3 years, and then what's going to happen after that. I'm investing heavily in billboard advertising to capitalize on what I think is the biggest opportunity to grow wealth in real estate that we've ever seen. I think it's going to be like investing in the GFC. You know, right after the great financial crisis, 2009, 10, 11, I think that's what we're walking into right now in affordability. Like, this is that big moment that is taking foot right now. So this property, my client just acquired for $87,000, and the renovation's 80% complete. It'll be done in about I don't know, I'd say about a week, maybe a little bit less. But here's what I think is going to happen. When Jerome Powell says that you're not going to get these mortgages in these high-risk states, he means it. That's going to happen, I can promise you. I covered this 2 years ago when Glenn Kelman, the CEO of Redfin, came out and said, you will not get mortgages or insurance in high-risk states. That's what Glenn Kelman said, CEO of Redfin. He's not just making stuff up. This isn't some, fear monger. He's telling you, right? And so you have to ask yourself this big question. If 70% of Americans have their wealth tied to their home's value, and you can't refinance those properties or get fresh financing on a purchase or an acquisition, what is that going to mean for people's property values? I believe what it's going to mean is it's going to turn it into an all-cash market, and cash buyers are going to determine the new value. It's no longer going to be a 3.5%, 5% down market in East LA where you can buy a $800,000 house and put 5-10% down. It's going to be, you need all the cash, right? And if something happens, a fire or something like that unfolds, you need to have the money to rebuild, and you're not going to be able to get insurance. So what I think is going to happen here is, I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I want to be very, very clear about that. Jerome Powell saying it's going to be coming in the next many years. I think it's going to be gradual, just like the insurance problem. The insurance in California has gotten progressively worse over the last couple of years.
Insurers are fired up about California regulations, and they're right.
And I can promise you in the next few years, it's going to get progressively worse, and it's just going to get harder and harder and harder. And I think that's what's going to happen. So my bet is Florida and California are going to continue to see less options for insurance, less options for financing. And you're going to start seeing employers looking at this saying, look, even for us to finance our warehouse or our homes, it's too expensive, and we don't want to rent. Maybe we want to buy a property, or we want affordable labor. We're going to start going to places like Des Moines, Iowa. We're going to go to places, like Ohio and some of these other random flyover states. That's where we're going to start going, because our employees, we can get them for a price in which they can afford to live. They can buy a house. We can buy a house. We can operate our businesses profitably. There's less regulation. Insurance is cheaper. There's just a lot more upside. And I think we're going to start seeing a lot of capital flight go into these boring states. That's what I think is going to happen. But if you've ever been to a place like Des Moines, Iowa, It's beautiful. Like, I went there 6-7 months ago. I was shocked at how nice Des Moines was. And you could buy a nice home for like $250, $275, walking distance to downtown. Absolutely beautiful. The homes in which we're buying in these neighborhoods here, we're spending 75 to 90 grand, somewhere in that range. And they're renting for $1,400 to $1,600 a month. Like, I'm going to show you this house here. My client bought for $87,000. It's beautiful. Like, it's a very, very nice house that I could promise 90% of the people watching this video would live in it, and they'd be comfortable there. You know, it's shocking, kind of like what you can actually get, what the neighborhoods look like, and what I think is going to be unfolding because of this insurance crisis. They talked about climate migration and all this. I would call it affordability migration, where everything is just going to be about cost of living, and people aren't going to have a choice but to relocate to a place where they can afford. So here's the street, just so you can kind of, you know, get a street view of what it actually looks like. That's the street, right? That's the street. These are the homes. Notice there's no bars. There's no bars on any of the windows. It just looks like this. Just very kind of classic, nice homes. These are what all the properties look like, every single one. And I'll show you the house that my client just closed on. I mean, like, these are all, it kind of feels like, you know, my grandmom's neighborhood. Not like anyone would know where my grandmom's neighborhood is, but like someone's grandmom's neighborhood, a quiet place where your parents would drop you off, and you would hang out in the neighborhood, and everyone felt safe going there, and it was just a safe place that people liked. Like, look at this house. So this property, we're going to paint the exterior. It's going to look really, really nice. We're probably going to remove the awnings, probably paint it white, do like a blue door, something kind of modern and cool. But we can't do that until probably the first week of April, because, you know, look at the ground. It's a sheet of ice over the driveway. The paint won't cure, but, you know, the inside will be done. The inside will look really nice in about a week, and then when the weather changes, then we will paint. Let's see. So this is the inside of the property. Living room, right? We got new vanity mirror that's going to be going up. This is bedroom. Like, that's a nice bedroom, right? Bedroom, another bedroom. $87,000 for this. Just incredible. Absolutely incredible. And then you got a nice kitchen here. You know, we're gonna change out the flooring, obviously, put new fixtures here, and this will be really, really nice. And then this is the master suite. And the master's a really, really good size with a full-fledged walk-in closet. So so here's part of the master, and this could be like an office inside of the master, which is almost like its own bedroom. And then you have a walk-in closet here. $87,000. He spent $8,800 on the renovation, somewhere in that range. The flooring, carpet, painting the walls, trim, the light fixtures throughout, vanity, toilet, and yeah, all the odds and ends that we had to put in here. But yeah, all in, sub 100K, running for $1,500 a month. But you start to think about what this insurance crisis is going to do, and then, you know, what this insurance crisis is going to do, push investors out of California. Because who would buy multifamily in a state where you know you're not going to be able to get financing? Who would want to buy it? Especially in a state where landlord-tenant laws are going to get worse and worse and worse. You look at what happened with landlord-tenant law in a place like LA the last 5 years. It's gotten harder and harder and harder for landlords to operate. So if you have landlord-tenant law working against you, you have high borrowing costs. You look at what just happened with the inflation data, and you have a situation where you're not going to get financing. Well, I don't see how there's going to be a lot of investors that are going to want to jump in at these price points. The market falls out from under it. You can bet that there's going to be a lot of investors that are going to jump in and buy in California and buy in these high-risk areas, no doubt. But I don't think it's yet. I think that opportunity is going to be 2028, 2029, 2030, and onward. It's going to be a cash buyer's market. But over the next 3 years, it's going to be all about affordability. It's going to be about protecting capital. It's going to be about yield and return, and it's going to be about securing yourself from these insurance premiums that are going to balloon the next couple of years. And a property like these, any of these properties, the insurance policy is like $600 to $800 a year. So if you're buying it all cash, let's say you're all in at like $100 grand, you're buying it all cash, and it's renting for $1,400 to $1,600. Taxes and insurance are $250 a month, making $1,200 a month in net income on a $100,000 purchase. Where else are you doing that, right? Where else can you really swing that? Nowhere. I think the affordability crisis is going to bring in more investors. These investors are going to push up rents, and the current values of these properties are going to continue to rise, especially considering that the inflation data came out and these tariffs are likely going to push up construction material costs. It's going to continue to go up. The cost to build these homes will go up with it. And so buying pre-existing housing stock will become much, much, much more attractive. So I think everything is pointing to where I am right now. And I think it's going to be a big opportunity that I'm going all in on. One thing that's interesting, when I moved from Delray Beach, Florida, my wife would drive with the kids around, do activities with them, and they had fun. But half the day was in the car, driving from one thing to the next. Here, there's so many things to do in Ohio, in Cleveland. It's shocking. I'm going to do a free event, and I think I'm probably going to get like a tour bus and show everybody the properties, show people kind of what we're doing. Maybe it might be like $100 or something to cover the cost of the tour bus, but basically free. And here, kids are doing activities all day long. All day long, they are doing activities. My son's got a bike trainer who's sponsored by Monster Energy and a bunch of other bike sponsors. His trainer's 17, and he's incredible on his bike, double backflips, stuff like that. And my son, his confidence is exploding because of what he is, doing on his bike. He's growing so quickly. His confidence is exploding. He just turned 5 years old 7 weeks ago. So to see him growing on his bike wouldn't have been possible. It would not have been possible if we were anywhere else. So he's learning Spanish, fluent Spanish, biking, he's doing parkour, he's doing all these activities, and everything's 10 minutes from the house, and everything is a fraction of the cost of what it would be in any other big city. So what do you think about this entire situation? Where do you see all this going with the inflation data and this climate migration I think we're going to be walking into? You think the flyover states are going to be where it's at? Let's have a conversation below. And to learn more about what I'm doing, SingleFamilyInvestors.com. You can click the link in the description if you have 100K or more that you're thinking about investing. And I'll catch you next video.